Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm here today with my co-host, Kelly Sarlo, and we are the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoy this episode. Hey, Kelly.
How are you, Alex?
I'm doing well. Today is shaping up to be a really, really good day. When you have an idea of what your perfect day would kind of be, and I say perfect, like obviously my perfect day is like retired in Hawaii with like you know what I mean, like everything you could possibly want. Like I'm not talking that kind of perfect day. I'm like in this real world right now where like we Emerson's in school and Devin's at work, and like we still have to do our day-to-day routines. This day is kind of shaping up that way. So got Emerson up. We got some time to hang out before school, got him off to school. Then came home, went for a trail run, which was awesome. Didn't track it or monitor it or anything, which I love doing sometimes when you're running, just run by feel, see how it goes. Got a little bit lost, but not to the point where I couldn't make it home, but it's good, the trail system has so many turns, so it's kind of fun to just be like, okay, this is the general direction to get home. And then had a coffee, and it's like, yeah, okay, this day is shaping up.
That's lovely. I'm hearing confidence in yourself to navigate even if you're lost, and I really find that admirable.
I've spent a lot of time in the bush. That's another funny thing actually is when I was in Mexico, a few months back, I was often using the term the bush when I worked in the bush, when I was in the bush, and they're like, these Americans we're hanging out with were like, what do you mean in the bush? Because like that's like, I guess, a really Northern Ontario thing to say.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
in the bush. I wasn't in like the forest or the woods. I was in the bush, and I started thinking about it. I was like, yeah, that is a really dumb way to say that.
It's too funny, and yet I wouldn't have even questioned that.
No, because yeah, we're both from the north, so it's normal. But yeah. Yeah, and then had a good breakfast and a coffee, like I said. Now we're here doing this, so it's a good day.
Oh, good for you. That's lovely.
Yeah. What do you have today for a topic?
Okay, so I was inspired by a YouTube influencer. I'm not sure if that's the right term these days. His name is Matt D'Avella. He is a videographer, filmmaker, and he talks about productivity and lifestyle. And I just think he's an uber inspiring person. And he recently released an episode on May 31st about why he eats the same thing every single day. And I thought, ooh, this is a Breaking 90 topic. I love this.
Cool.
And it's similar to something that Coach Jerica talks about, where when she puts a meal together, she always looks for a protein, a carb, and a vegetable. And I love that. So I do want to give credit to her as well, because she's been pushing this in a big way too. He just put an aesthetically beautiful video together about it. And I thought, I thought it would be a really neat thing to kind of dissect why this works for some people. It's definitely not going to be something, where every listener walks away going, okay, I'm doing it Matt D'Avella's way. But I just thought it's a good way to kind of open up the way that we think about our food, our meal prep, and why sometimes variety is not fun, if that's an okay way to say it. So that's today.
So one thing right off the hop, I watched part of that video. I haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing yet. But one thing right off the hop is that we're all faced with so many decisions in a day.
Yeah.
So many little decisions in a day that if we give a ton of headspace to the small decisions, it's going to take away from our ability to really handle the big decisions.
Yeah. I love that. And one of the first things he talks about is eliminating decision fatigue. And he does it in other ways, in the sense that he wears the same thing every day. He buys, 6 of the same t-shirts, and there's no question about what he's putting on in a day. And I love that. I felt that all through high school, wearing a uniform, where it was like, get up, not like that's one decision off of my plate, that I have more mental capacity for the subjects that you're learning and studying. I'm sure parents would like to eliminate some decision fatigue in the morning so they have more patience to deal with their children, right?
Well, you look at some of the highest performers in the world, and almost all of them do this. If they are doing it, we should probably be at some level be adding it to our lives. Like if you're talking busy, like these people, these are people that are running like massive companies, have families, have businesses, are top physical health and fitness. Like they've got a lot of shit on their plate, just like all of us. But if they're doing it and they're able to keep up with that stuff, it's probably something worth applying to our lives. I know a lot of them wear the same thing every day. I hear that one tons, and eat the same thing at least for one of their meals every day.
Yeah, it's excellent. And so clothing is one of them, like we talked about. Food is definitely one of them. I think we can also potentially touch on the route that we take to work, or the route that
Mm.
we drop our children off, to school. Some people like to switch it up, and I would argue that that's a really great thing too, in the sense of challenging your brain, creating more mental maps. There's definitely benefits to it, but if you're looking to eliminate decision fatigue, maybe sometimes taking the same route is one of the best things that you can do because it's not fatiguing you. And the other one that I wanted to touch on just quickly is the order of your routine in a day.
I
To
was
the
just going to say that.
Yeah, to the best of your ability, you're a parent. I'm sure you can talk about the fact that that's not always possible. But if you are setting even just your work day up in the same kind of sequential order, so you're not wondering what you're going to do when this task is done, then you've eliminated a lot of fatigue throughout your day, potentially multiple times in the day.
This kind of circles back to my opening story where I was talking about my perfect day. This is something that I've actually created for myself, is a perfect day routine. So I've got it blocked out in my schedule, in my calendar, in my phone, so that I can always look and be like, in a perfect situation, this is my routine. Most of the time I'm following this routine. When something happens, like you say, you're a parent, you have these random things. Emerson gets sick or something happens, no problem. Let's get back onto this routine as fast as possible. This is what I'm doing instead of what would be my normal routine. Um, it makes the flow, it makes everything easier.
So the next one that I wanted to move to, aside from eliminating the decision fatigue, is talking about saving time. And I think we can tack on energy as well, if that's an okay terminology that people are willing to accept. In meal prepping alone, right? We talk a lot about batch cooking. If you are eating the same thing every day, guess what's really easy? Right?
Yeah.
And that bleeds right into the next point, which is grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Walking down the same aisles of the grocery store, you're not wasting time potentially going into all of the middle sections. This was mind blowing for me. I don't even remember where I learned this or read it. But essentially, if you're eating Whole Foods, you're doing the outskirts of the entire grocery store, right? And they've mapped it out that way to create a really unique shopping experience for you, to suck you in. But if you're eating Whole Foods, you're circling around, delis, meats, fruits, vegetables, dairy, and then you're coming out to the cash. If you're going into the middle section, you're doing boxed foods, which is not the stuff that we're typically promoting.
Yeah, they forgot to put the coffee in the outside aisles, though.
Speaking of natural, I love it. But if you know that you can eliminate 20 aisles in something like a Metro, how quick is it for you to not even necessarily have to prepare a grocery list, never mind avoiding different aisles in the store?
Yeah, yeah, it's you're absolutely right. And I like that Matt does that. I don't know if I could personally eat the exact same thing every day. Like I think I'd go a little bit crazy, but I do a lot of that in my own day-to-day routine. Basically dinner is the meal where I give myself freedom, but my breakfast, snacks, and lunch is basically the exact same every day.
And this is where, like, I think people could still add quite a bit of variety depending on what your definition is. But like he does talk about the fact that he'll have chicken, green beans, and rice, right? That's very, very common. Sometimes he'll switch out the chicken for fish or steak, but the other two remain pretty much the same. And potentially because we're living in the north, maybe you're sitting there going like, no, I'm going to take the vegetable that's in season. That's smart. So maybe in a couple months at a time, you're eating zucchini as your vegetable, or you're eating the green beans, and you're just switching it up as things come into season, but it's relatively the same. That still helps you understand or feel kind of locked in a good way of, I know what I'm going to get, I know exactly how much I need to get, and prepare to last me, 4 or 5 days or even the week. Did you want to add anything to that before I move on?
I'm gonna just go through the three meals that I pretty much always eat consistently, because it might give some people some ideas. But so early in the morning, I almost always have egg whites, frozen spinach, and then organic salsa. And so it's like half a container of egg whites into a frying pan with frozen spinach. I fry that until it's cooked. You can microwave it. It takes like 2 minutes in the microwave, but I do it in a frying pan, so it takes maybe 4 or 5 minutes for me. I don't know. And then I just top it with like a fresh garden salsa. And so then you're getting a ton of vegetables, protein first thing in the morning. That takes like no time to prepare. And the decision fatigue's gone, because it's a half a container of the egg whites plus a handful of spinach plus a spoon of salsa. Like it's like, that's boom, boom, boom. I can complete that with my eyes shut. Then later I make a smoothie, which is the same thing every time. Every single time my smoothie is identical. It's frozen blueberries, frozen banana. I freeze all of my bananas ahead of time, peel them first so that they can just go right from the freezer into the smoothie. Frozen blueberries, frozen banana, plain Greek yogurt, almond milk, spinach again, frozen spinach again, and then a scoop of protein powder. Blend. I make it big enough for 2 portions, put 1 portion in the fridge, drink one right there. And so it's really, really frozen, so even like 3 or 4 hours later in the fridge, it's still going to be like a good smoothie consistency. And then another one that I often do is the salad. This is a big one that I wanted to touch on. So with a salad, where we can really erase decision fatigue and make this easier, like Kelly said, with meal prep, is that we chop all of those vegetables for all of the salads, not the salad you're having that day, right? Chop the peppers, chop the cucumbers, chop whatever vegetables you're putting in for like 3 or 4 days. And then when you make your salad, each day it's faster, faster, faster. It's just like, I've already got these portions, boom, 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 dressing, game time. If you have a salad on Monday and a salad next week on Tuesday and a salad next week on Wednesday, it's going to take a long time each time. But you got to get those veggies in, make enough to have it 3 or 4 days in a row. Chop it up. I always tell people, when you bring your veggies in the house from the grocery store, wash them, chop them so you could use them in a salad, a stir fry, or an omelet. You will be way more likely to consume them, or raw. You can eat them raw. You'll be way more likely to consume them than leaving them whole in the fridge. And then I let the dinner go wherever the dinner is going, whatever we're having that night. And then my late night snack, once again, is always the exact same. I have Greek yogurt, berries, and protein powder.
I love that.
That's it. Yeah, I know that took some time, but I think it's helpful for people to hear that.
Yeah, because, well, actually, it kind of goes into the next one I want to talk about is recipe hunting. You can save time scrolling through recipes, calling a family member and saying, "What's that recipe again?" Like, you just know. And like you said, you can make your breakfast and your smoothie almost with your eyes closed. Even when it comes to measurements, because you know it right off the top of your head, right? There again, you're not scrolling, asking someone, does this work for you? Do you like these ingredients, etc. You've just got point blank what you want to do, what you want to eat that day.
And so why I said I don't always have the salad is because what I'll do is whatever we had for dinner that night, I will either make enough leftovers for lunch the next day, or enough leftovers for dinner the next day. So we might have the same dinner 2 days in a row. And then if I am doing the salad, I'll just double the protein, so the protein can go into the salad, whether it's steak, pork, fish, chicken, whatever. But the salad basically stays the same. I'll just double the protein, and then that can go in if I'm not having leftovers.
Excellent. So then the next thing I want to touch on is the fact that if you're eating the same thing every day, you're not spending or wasting time counting calories or your points, right? How many times do we have to go into our phone with MyFitnessPal or whatever you're using, to scan an item, look up how many calories it is, look up the portion, convert it if it's not in the same measurements. It's exhausting doing the math alone. So if you know that you're eating roughly the same every day, or even like you said, just 1 or 2 meals, you know exactly how much your smoothie is, you know exactly how much that dinner is, and you just plug that in each and every day. Or maybe you get to the point where if it really is this routine, you don't even have to plug it in, you know what you ate.
Yeah. How about, aside from wasting the time, is wasting the food? Because I know that's a big one for people, right?
I want to get into waste as a totally other topic. That's okay. I love that your brain goes there because it means you're conscientious of it.
Yeah.
The only other thing I was going to mention is just the time alone inputting into trackers. So if you don't have to do this, you might be eliminating paper if you're paper and pen like myself and old school. But you don't have to go to your phone to input it after every single meal and then remember what you've eaten throughout the day. You just know.
Well, and even if you are really detail oriented, or you are tracking in MyFitnessPal, or you are training for an event you want to track, it has the ability to just say copy lunch from yesterday, copy lunch from yesterday, copy lunch from last Tuesday. Like, the more repetitive we get that, the quicker that also becomes, if you do insist on tracking, which I don't think anybody will for life, but you might do it for a period of time.
Yeah, it's excellent. Okay, so let's go into waste, because we're talking about leftovers being very purposeful at this point, right? So like you said, you know that it's going to be lunch or dinner the next day. And if you know that you're batch cooking because you want it to be a completely separate meal, you don't have these like half portions left over that are in a too big container that can't really, qualify as a whole protein or a whole alternate. It's something where, like, here is one full portion for tomorrow.
This is something that I hear all the time when we start working with people, that they hate wasting food. And when their kids don't finish their chicken fingers, they feel guilty throwing the chicken fingers out. So they eat the chicken fingers, as an example. And when you have a restaurant serving of food that's big enough for 4 people, you can't throw it out. So you eat the restaurant serving that's big enough for 4 people. It's common. I mean, I think all of us probably hate wasting food, and I would encourage you to hate wasting food. It's not something that any of us should try to actively do, but look for those opportunities of repurposing, right? Look for the chances to not waste food by creating consistency in the kitchen.
Which, consequently, you're saving money, right? You're not. How many people throw out spinach? Throw out their leafy greens because they buy them for one salad and then they forget that it's in the fridge. So you're also saving not just the time in the grocery store, but the money in the grocery store, because you're not constantly replacing things. The other thing too is your ingredients are not going to waste. So you're not buying unique ingredients for a curry that you eat once in a while, and now that Thai basil has gone bad because you don't use it in any other recipe, kind of thing. So that's another form of waste that can be eliminated.
That's why I switched to frozen spinach, honestly, because it goes well in my eggs and it goes well in my smoothie. And I hate how often I have to throw spinach out. So if I'm doing salads for the week, I'll just buy like whatever. I try to change the leaves just so I don't get bored. But I'll choose the leaves for like that week of salads, portion them out, and then I don't run into that same problem. I find spinach goes bad faster than a lot of the other leaves.
Yeah.
It's like friggin' raspberries.
Yep. Oh, too funny. And so the other point that I want to make, not along the lines of waste, but just as a separate point altogether, is that you're hitting your nutrient goals given what your health and fitness goals are, right? So if you're looking to bulk up, you're hitting what you need to for your protein so that you can put those gains on. If you're trying to lean, become more lean, what you're consuming is contributing to those goals. And then, of course, as those goals change, maybe you do switch up a little bit what you're eating, but you've got clear direction no matter what.
Yeah, that's big. Making sure that you've got that balance. So that's something that Jerica does really well, actually, is like, rather than making all of her meals consistent, she'll be like, okay, I'm going to make enough broccoli now for the next 3 days, but I'm going to change my protein each day, or I'm going to make enough protein now for the next 3 days, but I'm going to change my vegetable. So that's like a looser variation of what we're talking about, but making sure that you're prioritizing the vegetable or the fruit and then the protein, even if you switch one of them, right? Keep two consistent, switch one. Keep two consistent, switch one. And that's another way of doing this without, if you're afraid of getting bored but still want to keep it simple. You just take like the fat, the carb, the vegetable, the protein, and switch one each meal instead of all four, where then it becomes a big decision again. What recipe am I going to make again?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the only other points that I wanted to make, and certainly I'll leave time and space for you, is that a lot of people are under the assumption that you need to eat what your partner's eating. And I know for parents, they can kind of wrap their head around the fact that, no, I don't eat what my children eat because they're pickier or their palates aren't developed, or maybe they're just, age-wise not at that stage to try new things. But there is often an assumption that partners should be eating the same meal for whatever reason. And I think if people can give themselves the permission to change that mindset and know that it can be totally normal to eat two different meals, if what you value is quality time, sit down and eat together, but don't think it has to be the exact same meal if your goals are completely different or your preferences are different.
Yep, for sure. I mean, it's like eating breakfast or eating breakfast for dinner or dinner for breakfast. Like that's just like a norm that we've created that we think we need to follow. But like, who says you can't have chicken for breakfast or eggs for dinner, right? Eggs aren't weird. You're weird. Have you seen that commercial?
No.
It's like, eggs for dinner aren't weird. You're weird.
That's great marketing.
Yeah, it is. But also I want to challenge you on this. If you're listening to this right now and you're like, yeah, that's me. I don't have time to eat healthy because I have to make my kids' meal, I have to make my partner's meal, and I have to make my meal. It's way less time consuming to make the same meal. I guarantee you can do it. I guarantee you can all eat the same-ish foods and still hit your goals. And this circles back to the reason I eat the way I do. So most of the day, your kids are going to be in school or whatever, unless they're really, really young. Your partner's going to be at work. You're going to be at work. So control the meals that are easier while your kid's at school, while your partner's at work, when you're not together. Control those meals. Have complete control over them. Leave yourself some more freedom for that meal, probably dinner, where you're all going to sit down together. Okay. And then in the freedom of that meal, so you've decided you're doing chicken fingers that night. Well, if you had planned ahead, it doesn't really take that much longer to make homemade chicken fingers. And I think Kelly and Eric can definitely attest to this. We've posted recipes about it. It doesn't take that much longer to make a homemade chicken finger that is in line with your goals. You don't have to have the French fries that the kids are eating with it. You could make a salad while those chicken fingers are cooking, and you could still have chicken fingers and salad while your kids have chicken fingers and French fries. Like, that's not really adding to your time. You are still eating relatively the same meal. You can still have, if they want to have mac and cheese, make a homemade mac and cheese and put tuna in yours so that you're getting protein with it, right? Like, have a smaller serving of whatever they're eating, but still eat with them so you can sit down and have that meal. If you do that, if you control the breakfast, control the lunch, control the snacks, you're probably going to be able to fit that dinner into your nutrition plan. So now you're gonna challenge me by saying, okay, what about holidays, weekends, and summer and this kind of thing when everybody's home? Well, you don't, just like Kelly said, like, you don't need to eat every single meal together. You still need to stick to your routine if your goal is a high enough priority.
Oh, good point. I love that. Thank you. You added so much to today. Appreciate it.
No, this was a cool topic. It was fun. I'm glad you picked this topic.
Thank you. Do you want to leave it as a tip or leave us with a tip?
Yeah. I'm sure if you listen to enough of these episodes, you're going to hear me mention the same thing more than once because I don't remember.
Plain Greek yogurt for dipping sauce? Because I picked this one too much. Okay.
No, this one is eat the frog. Okay, so this is something that our clients have heard me say a lot, but you might not have if you haven't worked with us. So what does eat the frog mean? It means that if you have to eat a frog every day, you should eat that frog first thing in the morning. If you have to eat 2 frogs every day, you should eat the biggest, ugliest one first. So what does this really mean? It means we should tackle those tasks that are going to challenge us the most as early as possible. Get them out of the way. If you're somebody who struggles to get in your workout, get it done before your plate fills. If you're somebody who struggles to get enough protein, eat more protein in the morning. If you're somebody who struggles to get enough vegetables in, find a way to fit vegetables into your breakfast. If you're somebody who struggles to get your water in, have a glass of water before your coffee. That's what I'm talking about when I say eat the frog. Prioritize the stuff that challenges you the most before your plate fills. All of us wake up with an empty plate that fills very quickly, depending on the season you're in, what you've got going on, what your kids are up to, what your family's up to, what your boss is up to. That plate starts to fill very quickly. It's those good intentions to work out at the end of the day might not always happen if the workout isn't a high enough priority, or if it is something you struggle with. So get it done early. That's my tip.
Your shirt is a really nice continuous with your tip. You've got discipline over motivation.
Yeah, create the discipline, the motivation will follow, right? We can't count on that motivation because it won't always be there.
Thank you for today.
Cool.
It was fun.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. I hope you got a lot of value out of this episode. If you could screenshot it wherever you're listening and share it to your Instagram story, that's the way that we get some new followers. That's the way other people hear about it. Tag us in it so we can see you doing that, because we really appreciate you guys sharing this with your friends. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a great day.